This is Tom Bain.
What is this?
This is Wine, Money, and Song. And if you're interested in wine and you want to learn about the best values in wine, please subscribe. Is the U.S. wine market dying? Play taps now. And the answer is yes and no. For the first time in 2022, people drank less wine and spend less money on wine than they did in the year before, 2021. In the last 5 years, the market's been flattening out, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We had COVID, and COVID really threw a wrench into the market. The restaurants closed, and a lot of the wine sales went from on-premise to home, and people buying and having it delivered to their house. So it really jumbled the numbers. But last year, per capita consumption was down. And over a period of decades and decades, wine consumption and wine sales have been going up. And I remember back in the early 70s when I first started getting into the wine business, there wasn't a wine business. It was very small, and we sold liquor. And people drank beer and liquor, and they had a bottle of sherry or a bottle of Chianti a few times a year. And all of a sudden, it started to grow. And each decade, I was involved. I worked retail, then I worked wholesale. I worked for Gallo, and then I worked for an importer, and California wines and imported wines started exploding. And the business was just rocking. And people were drinking less liquor, less cocktails, and more wine. Everyone was drinking wine. Kids in college were drinking wine. So what happened? Why is the market going down? Well, the big problem is the Gen Z and the millennials are not drinking like baby boomers did. Wine is not their first preference. They're buying brown goods, meaning whiskey, bourbon, and they're also drinking a lot of mixed drinks, tequila and vodka. And why are they not? And they also drink hard cider, hard seltzer also. Millions and millions of cases of hard seltzer are being sold. And that cuts in to the wine market. And beer sales have been pretty stagnant the last 5 years or so. So why is the 21 to 35-year-old market not drinking wine? Now, they drink wine occasionally, but generally they do it for special occasions, holidays, or they buy it as gifts. They're not afraid to spend money, but they spend it once, and they don't go back and buy it again so often. They drink other things. And usually a wine drinker used to be that he drank wine, and he drank wine, and he drank wine, and maybe once in a while he'd have something else, but he'd go back to wine. 21 to 35-year-olds are not doing that. And the question is, how do we get them back there? But one good note in the wine market is that 60-year-olds and up are spending a lot of money on wine. And gray hairs like myself, I call them gray-haired market. They're well-to-do. They're very educated. They have personal income that allows them to spend money on fine wines. And that's who buys the $150 California Cabernets, which are in the hundreds. There's hundreds of different wines that sell for $150 from Napa Valley. And they sell. And you go to a winery in Napa in California, they charge you $75 to try the wines. And they do a booming business. But most of that business is that well-heeled 60 and up. And the wine industry has to find a way to replace those markets because they're going to die off. They're going to die off. And you have to replace these people. But why has this gap occurred? I took a look at the most popular wine brands last year in America. And besides Gallo owning a lot of them and the Wine Guild and Treasury have all these brands. But you take a look what's selling. There's a hell of a lot of Moscato being sold. Pink Moscato, red Moscato, which there's no such thing, but they say it's red Moscato. Moscato's a white wine, but from Italy, a grape from Italy. But it's a sweet wine, easy to drink, cheap to make, and they sell millions of cases. And Prosecco, an Italian sparkling wine, but in California you can call it Prosecco, and they have a sparkling wine and they sell it and they mix it with orange juice. Those are the brands that are selling. Those are the big brands. No one's spending money. No one has campaigns like Gallo used to have when they would come out with new wines and varietals and double and triple the varietal market in a period of months, just by filling the void, by filling up distribution channels. No one is spending money to build the business of tomorrow. What's going to happen after these people? So I hope that the wine industry can get their act together, because once that older demographic, the baby boomers, once those baby boomers are gone, it's going to be very, very unfertile soil there. So they have to put their collective heads together and make it very appealing for people and be more informative, more education involved in the wine business to lure back or develop those markets with the younger people. I remember back, I think it was about 2015, maybe 16, 17. I went to a niece's wedding, and I remember going to other weddings, other parties and things, and there was a lot of wine being served at these weddings and at these festive affairs. So I go, and my niece is a psychiatrist, a doctor, and her husband's a doctor, and all their friends are doctors and well-educated, well-heeled people who were like 25 years old at the time, or 30, between 25 and 30. And I was flabbergasted that there was very little wine being poured at this. You know, they had white wine and red wine. What happened to Sauvignon Blanc? What happened to Chardonnay? What happened to Merlot? What happened to Pinot Noir? Pinot Grigio? Those young people were drinking mixed drinks. They were drinking craft beers, and they were not drinking wine. And it hit me like a freight train. I've been in the wine business for decades and decades and decades. And if you would have told me in 2000 that brown spirits, hard liquor was going to come back and blow the market open like they have, and wines were going to start to settle down and not keep growing, I would have never believed that. But I was there, and reality hit me in the face. And I could see how the market has changed by just going in that social setting. And I left that wedding, and I went back and I talked to my friends in the wine business. And I said, it's over. It's the beginning of the end. Young people are not drinking wine. They're not interested. I go, something's got to be done. And I'm going to leave you with that thought. Something has to be done by the U.S. wine industry to invigorate sales gains again and expand the market.